down here many, many years, but you've never had a draft coming to your place.
Yeah.
Do you have any personal involvement in all that stuff in Green Bay?
No, not really, but I will say we have fantastic people working on it, and everybody's very, very excited to have it and host it. Should be quite a scene, They threw out some plans the other day what it's going to look like. I just think obviously I'm biased, but Green Bay is the mecca for football, and to have the draft come in there, I just give a lot of credit to Mark and his team for being able to accomplish that.
Matt was thinking like me. The first thing I was thinking of was when Ted traded down the second round or whatever. Have you been? But as far as the first round goes, how do you look at like either trading the pick or keeping the pick or whatever? You're home out.
Yeah, no, having the draft in Green Bay really doesn't change anything for how we go about that. I mean, we're going to do what's best for the Green Bay Packers, and if that's trading out of a pick, we certainly would do it. But either way, I think it's going to be a great event. It's going to be pretty special. So we're all like I said, excited for it. No, not at all. No.
You talked about how important this week is. How do you personally divide your time? Maybe just on specific percentages, but talking to agents, evaluating prospects, as you said, this is face to face. How does your week look?
Yeah, I'll talk to a few agents here and there. We have obviously a team of scouts and Russ that we'll talk to a lot. But really, for me, it's more about getting to know these college players and making sure that the time we spend, not only in the interviews, but watching them compete on the field, the weigh-ins, just everything that they do here, just kind of immersing yourself in that to get to know these guys as well as you can. You don't have this opportunity again. This is kind of a 1 week. So to me, that's the priority.
With this draft class in particular, is there certain position groups or a couple position groups where the talents just really jumped off the page?
We talked a little bit about it before. I think it's there's a lot of numbers in this draft overall. I think that has to do with the NIL and the guys staying around for school a little bit longer. But I think there's been a lot of talk about the offense and defensive lines maybe being a little bit stronger than in some years. But I think it's a good draft overall. I'm excited for it. We certainly think there's a bunch of opportunities to help our football team.
You look at Josh immediately after the game in Philadelphia said he wants to help get guys here, and then he talks about the need for a veteran wide receiver. What does it mean when you have guys that kind of take on them, like they kind of feel like they're invested and they want to help contribute and get guys in?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Josh wants to win in the worst way, and I think his expression of that is just his desire to win, and certainly I think we got a bunch of guys in that room that are capable, and we're excited to see where they go next year.
When you have Christian coming off with an ACL, and then you have Romeo's concussion problem, how much do you feel you have to address the wide receiver, whether it's in the draft or in coming?
Well, first, I wouldn't really say that Rome's got a concussion problem. He had a couple of concussions at the end of the year, but I wouldn't consider it a problem. And then Christian, obviously, that's a big injury, and it's going to take some time. He'll attack it aggressively like he always does, and we expect him back sometime during the middle of the season next year. But, him not being there at the beginning of the season will be missed, and certainly that'll be something, whether with the group that we have or anybody we might acquire over the next couple months. That'll be a big void that we'll have to figure that out.
Brian, you've mentioned a couple of times we lost our last three. Like, do you have that feeling inside the building, like we've done some good things, but we haven't arrived, and a little bit of chip on the shoulder, so to speak?
Yeah, no, I do, and I think everybody in our organization does. I think, there's a standard in our building, and at the end of the season, we didn't meet that standard. We certainly think this group's capable of doing that, and we want to make sure that everybody understands where we're trying to go, and I think they do. And I think we're all excited to get back together and start working towards that.
How would you describe Jaire Alexander's time with the Packers in the years he's been there?
Well, obviously, he's been here a long time. He's been an elite player for a number of years. I think the past few years have been very frustrating for him, and certainly for us too, just because you want players like that on the field consistently, and when you can't be because of injuries, that's a tough thing on a player. I know he's doing everything he can to be out there, but I think the last few years haven't been where we wanted it to be only because of injury. But obviously, very, very talented player.
Do you get the sense that Jaire wants to stay a Green Bay Packer?
Yeah, he's never said anything differently, and I think he loves Green Bay. He's always got a lot of energy when he's in the building. I think he's still around, so. Again, we'll work through that as we go through the offseason and see where that leads.
You talked about urgency. How do you, as a GM, approach the offseason when it comes to urgency, where you have to think about the draft, which might be guys that are 3-4 years down the line, whereas veterans, what everybody the outside the world, the fans want to see when it comes to urgency is go out and sign a guy. How do you kind of balance?
Yeah, our process won't change. I think it doesn't really change a lot as we approach free agency and the drafts as far as our, how we're looking at things. I do think that we have a lot of flexibility right now, not only through the draft, but in with our cap situation. So if the opportunities are there and the right players are there, we won't hesitate to be aggressive.
Brian, I'm curious for you in terms of when you're looking at roster needs. When did you kind of have a sense for what you felt this team needed? You could say heading into 2025. Did it change throughout the season? Was it after that last game? When did you kind of feel like you had a sense of what this team needed?
Your needs change week to week. Okay, and it's just it's a never-ending process. And the way we look at it is the process that we have that we go about 365 days a year, kind of answer a lot of those questions. So sitting here today, I kind of have an idea of kind of how we'd like to build this out if we're able to accomplish the things we want to accomplish. But 2 months from now, it may be completely different. So from my end, you're really trying to build a robust roster that can handle whatever challenges the season or injuries or different things might bring. So that's kind of how we look at that.
Do you know how soon after Christian's injury that he had the surgery?
I think it was within a couple of weeks. Sometimes I need to let that swelling go down before they have the surgery, but it was fairly quick. Yeah, doing great. Yeah, everything that we've I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks, but all the reports we're getting are really, really good.
I don't know if there's a percentage, but how much of the combine and the interviews and just whatever does it set your board and make draft decisions, so to speak?
I think this is all information gathering, and it plays a part. It certainly plays a part. As we go through, we just got through about 2.5 weeks of draft meetings with our scouts. We put up the board initially. We go through this week, and again, there's a ton of information, whether it be medical, whether it be psychological, whether it be the interviews that we do, the testing data, all that information will come back in, and then we'll go through about 3 more phases before the board is actually set exactly what, and all this information that we gather this week is a big part of that.
You're also here with all your peers from around the league, and no one's going to lose a game.
Right.
What's the interaction like?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of camaraderie that goes on. I think the young scouts are probably out a little later at night than us old guys, but no, there's everybody understands how hard this business is, and it's a very small community. So I think everybody usually gets here, and it's good to see different people, maybe guys you've worked with in the past, but it's a working environment. There's a lot to get done during this week, so that's where your focus is.
When it comes to one-on-one meetings with the prospects, how often is it where maybe a guy that you meet here kind of maybe moves up your board just because you have that interaction with the first time, and maybe it wasn't on your board to begin with, but now you kind of, how much is that kind of fluctuate?
Yeah, I think whether they move up on our board right now that's probably not an accurate way to state it. I think what it does is it gives us more information that maybe makes us feel more comfortable with a lot of times we have all this information from our scouts, and we come in, we meet them, and everything lines up, and you feel really good about what you know about that player, and that may solidify that. Maybe it creates more questions through our interview process that we need to track down through the spring, or medically, or whatever it might be. So again, nobody's going to move up or down our board because of what happens this week right away, but it's just more information that kind of pours in that may be that well affected towards the end of the process.
To follow on that, you talked about quarterback being the most important position. Do you recall your combine experience with Jordan Love? And how did that go, and how did that impact your ultimate choice?
Yeah, I mean, he showed everything that we saw from the tape. The loose arm, his athletic ability, the ability to throw the football. He competed down here. He did everything down here. So all that was good. He was really young, when he was during that time, and but that was also right before COVID really hit, and then like our spring process, where normally maybe he would have come into Green Bay, spent some time with us down there, or we would have gone to Utah State. It was all Zoom stuff, so that it was definitely different during that period of time.
What were your thoughts on Malik and just what he brought up to this point?
For this season? Yeah, he was a welcome addition. I don't think when you bring a player in right at the cut-down day and you expect him to start in a couple weeks and do what he did. So just, really appreciative of his professionalism and, just how prepared he was. Got to give Matt and his staff a lot of credit, because when that happened, those guys were able to flip a switch and put us in the best position to win football games with Malik as our starter. So, but very appreciative of his, his pro, kind of the way he attacked things, and really fit into our football team well.
Can rusher, or maybe any position that you have maybe a little bit of a need? How difficult is that?
Well, I mean, I think, good players are always hard to find because nobody wants to let them go. You know what I mean? But that's our job, and we attack it, and we'll find them if they're out there. But yeah, there's the great ones. God only made so many of them, and they're tough to find. But it's not hard to identify when you see it.
Brian, what's your just vision for how the offensive line could look next season?
Yeah, I think obviously it's very early, and we'll kind of see what we end up with. But again, we talked a little bit earlier about how we've been very focused on bringing in flexible guys that can play multiple positions, and I feel that's our group is of that. I think we got a lot of guys that can play different positions along the offensive line. So the goal is to get the best 5 out there, and so I think that'll always be kind of the approach that we take, and those questions will be answered in training camp. Good.
You
All right.
asked about the draft on Green Bay over here. What is your overall feeling about the draft coming to Green Bay?
No, super excited for the community, and again, hopeful it doesn't interrupt our process too much. I've had preliminary discussions with Doug Collins, our security guy, about how we're going to get in and out, which might take a little while. I think our scouts were talking about sleeping at the office, which I was like, absolutely not, because that's not something we're going to have at 3 o'clock in the morning running around our building. But no, I think it's gonna be great. It's gonna be really exciting. The energy should be off the charts. And again, I think it's a special thing for Green Bay, the Packers, and just proud of our organization that they're able to pull it off.
And you have a job to do, Brian, but are you going to be able to enjoy it? Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, yeah. To me, those 4 days, so to speak, I'm I'm here. And like I said, I'll look out the window every now and again and say, hey, that's really neat. And then I'll go back in the draft room where I can't hear a thing, and we'll go about our business. But yeah, I think it's going to be. I have a lot of confidence in our organization that they'll pull this off in a grand fashion, and it'll be really neat to see.
How often have you been to the draft?
I've never been to the draft. Yeah, no, I don't. Forever, it was in New York. We'd send a couple guys that'd be on the headsets, and I was always in the draft room. So yeah, I've never been to the draft. So to be late, and I technically really won't be at this one either. So, so.
Is there a little extra maybe specialness to this too, with it being Mark's last?
Yeah, it would have been very nice to pull off a Super Bowl and the draft in the same time, but and send him off the right way. But obviously, he's been such an impactful person in our organization, and to kind of have, and I know how important this was to him, and for him to be able to get this the draft in Green Bay and kind of walk off that way is pretty neat.